Hi lovelies! This is going to be an in-depth color theory tutorial using coloring pencils. I'll be using the coloring pencil set gifted to me by Woomer, which although is 72 colors, I'll only be using 5 colors excluding the black and white pencils so that everyone can easily follow along and learn how to build skin colors with only the basic color palette. I'll link the color pencils down below in the description, along with the discount code that you can get to 30% off your first purchase. These are the colors that I use. I'll use this watercolor sketchbook I got from Lightwish. I can't really remember the exact name, but I'll put the link for it in the description down below. I'll start by sketching out what I'm going to color in using the brown pencil, and to sketch I like to just pinpoint where the top, bottom, and sides are so I can center the subject in the middle of the page. I just eyeball this part, but you can also measure the distance if you want to be more precise with your drawing. The dots will basically show where the outline of the face is so that I can then easily connect the dots to draw the face. This will act as a guide for my proportions. Don't be worried to repeat this part until you get it. I like to keep my sketch very minimal, and I stick to thinner guidelines just so that the sketch doesn't become too complex to the point where it's hard to distinguish between the lines. This will also make the coloring process easier because I can then clearly see where the features are. After I'm done with the outline, I'll start to sketch out where the main features are, simply repeating the same process of measuring where the features would lay on a face. As you repeat this process, you'll be able to start freehanding the sketch as I am now. A lot of people did question why I trimmed this section out from my previous tutorial, and to be honest, I just didn't think it was helpful since, as you can see, my sketching process is it's kind of straightforward to me, but it doesn't make sense to people who look at it and try to learn from it, since it doesn't explain how I do it. I can just kind of freehand all the features. I think it's just how I've been drawing my entire life, that the more you draw, the more you get used to just freehanding the sketch without needing guidelines. Unfortunately, I did end up spilling paint from another painting on this specific sketch after I'd finished pretty much half of the tutorial, so I did end up having to redraw it on another page, as well as repeat the entire tutorial, which is why you can't see the previous drawing. I always work from dark to light just because of my softer art style. I like to start with a brown shade rather than a black one. This helps me control how dark I want the shadows or contrast to be, not just start by shading in the iris with the brown, making sure to avoid the direct highlights or reflections in the eyes. Keep in mind that I'm not putting too much pressure, since I like to layer the colors in more frequent, thinner layers to get this soft blended look. I'll then layer the blue on top to add some depth to the iris. Then using the red, I'll layer it on top to create a purple hue to the iris. This will be by blending the blue and red pencils. I'll also begin to drag the red outside to the iris to the inner corner of the eye. To fix everything together without having it look too colorful, I'll go over the colors once again with the brown pencil, slightly applying more pressure. I'll also begin to drag it to the inner corner of the eye as well, to add some shadows to the inner corner. Using the white pencil, I use it as a blending stump and begin to slowly blend the colors together without applying any pressure. I'll also use it to go over where the highlights or reflections would be. I'll then repeat this process again, slightly adding more pressure. After I'm satisfied with how the eye looks, I'll start to work my way outwards from the eye by dragging the brown pencil around the eye, so it'll be the basis of my shading. Then using the other colors, I'll start building up the skin tone. Since I work from dark to light, I'll move on to the shade closest to the brown, and I'll go over the brown. Remember not to apply too much pressure early on, since the colors won't blend as well. And here, since the colors are limited, the red and yellow pencils will act as my warm shades, meaning I'll add more if I want this section to be warmer, whereas the blue and green will act as my cool shades, where I'll use if I want to tone down the skin a bit. I'll usually use those in the shadows. Likewise, I'll use the yellow pencil as I go over the areas I want warmer. Using the green, I'll start to block out the cooler areas of the skin. This will also help tone down the warmer areas. I'll go over the areas I want darker with the brown, applying a bit more pressure. I'll honestly just repeat the same process until I'm satisfied. I like to work in sections just so I don't get too overwhelmed while coloring, but you could always skip this and just work on the entire face. By working in sections, I kind of focus more on the colors, as well as avoid overlooking certain areas. Remember, you can do whichever is most comfortable to you. Like I mentioned before, the white will act as my blending tool, as well as to deepen the highlights. I'll then start working outwards again using the same layering process. For the eyebrows, I'll just go in with the brown pencil to sort of just start to begin outlining where the eyebrows will be. And I'm just doing this very randomly. I'm not focusing too much on the shape now, since I would prefer to do that with the other colors, since of course the eyebrows are on the face. The light of hitting the face will also affect how the eyebrows look. It's a bit difficult for me to explain it in words, since I'm not usually used to explaining my process, so I'll just let you watch how I do it. I'll repeat the exact same thing I did for the other eye. Using coloring pencils is honestly a very long process and it does take time, so you really just need patience with it. And I'm not gonna lie, I could have deepened the colors of the skin a bit more had I had enough time, but I was working on a time limit and I only had around 2 hours to get this done. For the lips, since we are still using a very limited palette, I will pretty much use most of the colors that are similar to the skin. I'll start off with my brown pencil and I'll just go and shade in the darkest areas, which will basically be the areas where the light is hitting it the least, which would be the gap between the lips as well as the upper lip. And because her lips are a bit more floral or reddish, I will go in with both my blue and green pencils to just outline the base of the colors, and the green will kind of help tone down the red so it's not overly vibrant, and it'll give us this very nice neutral red shade. Also go over again with the brown to darken any areas. Remember, this whole process using coloring pencils is just a reoccurring or repeating process, so it does take time. I'll just begin to drag down the same colors down to the neck. I'm gonna be really honest, this is where I started noticing that I was losing time because I did have another meeting to get to right after. So I did not take as much time as I should have for the neck, which is why you will see a very stark difference between how I shaded the face in comparison to the neck. And this is why you should always take your time while layering colors or drawing, specifically using coloring pencils or even coloring pastels, since it does take a lot of time. I'll then go back in with the brown and sort of outline the face and the neck. I'm applying more pressure but not too much, just enough for the color to show, but not to the point where it becomes too distinct. This is honestly just personal preference because I know many artists who like to have clear lines between the face and the hair, but I personally like to have mine blended in. It just gives it this sort of iridescent vibe, which I like. Because the hair is pretty dark, I'm using black as the main color, and I'll start to drag the color further away to shade in the hair. The hair is where I'll start to get more loose with my strokes. This is because it is not my main subject of the drawing, so I'll make harsh and white lines and just have fun with it. I'll then go back in with the brown and start to outline the hair. I'll just start by dragging the brown inwards in random strands. Try not to focus too much on making them perfect, because this will be an outline for the highlights of the hair. Try to make it random and add in some connecting strands, because unless the source of light is really bright, the strands of hair will still be visible. Since light isn't actually white, I'll use some more colors to add some depth to the highlights in the hair. In this instance, I rely a lot on my reference picture and see that the light reflecting over hair is showing which colors. I'll add in some yellow to reflect the yellow light from the main light source before blending and emphasizing the highlights with the white. Using the brown, I'll once again start adding darker strands of hair to create more contrast in the hair. I'll go back in with the brown to add some loose strands. The headphones will just be a mixture of black, blue, green, and white. To be honest, this tutorial isn't as detailed as I'd hoped because I don't usually use coloring pencils. I just thought it would be easier to show and explain instead of using my regular oil pastels or oil paint, since when I use oil pastels, the pastels are very thick, so you can't really see a lot of what I'm doing and my entire layering process. Although I do have a lot of tutorials on it, I just thought it would be easier to explain using coloring pencils. This is honestly it. This is a very kind of simple tutorial. I'm not very good at explaining, but I do really hope that this tutorial has helped to an extent, even just by visually seeing what I'm doing and sort of imitating it, that it might help deepen your knowledge on how to build colors. Thanks so much for watching, and do leave any recommendations you have in the comments down below. Bye bye!